idea is just to, help prospective scholars to find a place whereby they could, get along with active scholars. And, just like I was saying with some of those who joined earlier, some of us, we had to rely on, some unverified sort of information, while we were waiting for the scholarship. And just like someone pointed out tonight, it's not the best because it opens you to a lot of scams and all that. So that's the motive for actually doing this. And like I said, we have about four of us here tonight. We are still waiting for AB. And so we hope to get insight from the different and the scholars in those countries. What has been their experience so far? And what will it be like for someone who is coming from Nigeria? And some of the things we want to look at tonight is what are the logistics for your pre-departure? That's before you leave from Nigeria. Then what is expected of you as a scholar in those countries? I know very well of Malaysia. It can be very difficult at times, particularly for those who are doing coursework, because the system here in Malaysia, it's more like a modular type of learning, whereby they bombard them with so many assignments. So if you're coming from Nigeria, it might be very difficult for you to adapt. But over the years, we've always find our students doing very, very good. Then also cultural shift, coming to a place whereby you have different people, different language. How do you settle in? And I think Bumi would actually share his own experience in this regard. Then, in terms of funding and financial management, also, PTDF is a generous scholarship, but at times you can your stipend may not come as you anticipate. So, how do you tend to actually deal with such instances? Then also, it's a scholarship, but one thing that is expected is that we should also develop ourselves during the process. So much of our conversation will fall around this scope that we have just pointed out. Then also, it's not just a sharing session for prospective scholars, but one thing is certain that some persons might be picked and some persons might not be picked. So what I try to do is just to more like collate some of the valid scholarships in these countries. For me in particular, there are so many scholarship opportunities in Malaysia that I did not know of until I got here. And I think it will be a very good one for anyone out there who maybe peradventure couldn't get the scholarship, and you can still try to see if you can explore some of the other scholarship opportunities in these countries. Then also we'll try to wrap up with a question and answer session. So the way I've done it basically is to um, hear Bumi's perspective. He is a German scholar and has been there for 2 years now. And I remembered when he got the scholarship then, I was one of those I reached out to. He was meant to come to Malaysia, but along the line, he changed his mind for some specific reasons. And it's been a wonderful experience for him, actually. And I would just want him to share with us, and let's see if we can take some lessons from it, particularly for the prospective scholars. Bumi, if you are ready, the floor is yours.
Eh, Thank you so much. I'm Ogunleye Olubumi, and I'm a PTDF OSS Germany scholar. Um, so I'll be shedding more light about what, like, based on the points um, which we've talked about, which is the pre-departure logistics, academic preparedness, cultural adjustments, funding and financial management, and personal development and well-being and other scholarship opportunities. So, for coming to Germany, a pre-departure logistics that um, you want to be aware of is that there are actually two routes to come to Germany, because coming to Germany from Nigeria, especially like Nigeria being a third world country, is a little bit difficult. So there are actually two routes, which is what we call the blocked accounts route and the PTDF DAD route. So for the block accounts, particularly with the, the block account just involves you having coming directly with PTDF, and PTDF, you open a block account with one of the block account providers like Fitimba, Expatio, and you send those that account details to PTDF, and PTDF pays in the required um, proof of financial responsibility, proof of financial um, proof of finance into your block account, which is some certain like a certain amount, which is like a stated threshold, and PTDF pays it into your accounts, and you use it for application for your visa along with your other basic documents such as your degree certificates like from your undergraduate and um other personal documents which are normal regular personal documents, while the PTDFD involves you after having or winning the PTDF scholarship, you now have to apply for another scheme, which is called the PTDFD, where PTDF has a partnership with DAD, and DAD is a German government academic scholarship, which I feel many of us are aware of, which there will be a writing of an essay, and there will be a reselection process where scholars are being selected. Now, the issue of um, blocked account and the PTDFD, I would say people who go with block accounts, because if you don't have a first class, if you're going for MSc, if you don't have a first class, is going to be very difficult for you to go through block accounts. You have a wait time of 2 years currently to get into Germany if you don't have a first class for MSc scholars. Why for PhD scholars it is direct, like you can easily get um, you can easily get into Germany with your block account. They put you on priority, and in a few days you get an appointment date. Then for MSc scholars with first class, particularly not just even first class, they have a requirement that your first class must not be more than 2 years from graduation as at the time you're applying. So if your first class is more than 2 years, you would also have a wait time of 2 years before you get an appointment at the embassy. So because due to that constraint, that was why DTDF went into partnership with DAD to actually fasten up the visa processing. So if you are being selected for the PTDF DAD, you get your interview also in days, and you are able to go to the embassy to to for your appointment for your visa interview. Um, so you don't necessarily need statements like a block account to prove your financial preparedness. You don't need it. You only need an award letter from DAD, which they will do some selection process, and you are being selected and awarded the DAD scholarship. And I would say it is for me basically I would say it is better whether you have a first class, whether you're a PhD scholar or whatever. I would say it's better to get into Germany through the PTDF DAD route, because there are some certain benefits that you get as a PTDF DAD scholars which you won't get naturally on the um, normal PTDF scholarship. An example of it is in case of like language school, because coming to Germany it's going to be very difficult if you don't learn the language, particularly interacting in everyday life in
Mm.
the city. I would say when I got to Germany, because I went to Germany on blocked accounts, and I later switched to DAD. It's also possible that okay, if you have a first class and you can go to block accounts and you can switch into DAD, it's possible. So I would say like not learning the language coming, even with you speaking English, sometimes you feel like an illiterate in the society. So The PTDF DAD gives you opportunity to learn the language for like 4 months currently, to learn the language to like A2 level. You understand? So which the PTDF directly does not have that opportunity. Then also, I when you arrive, there are some documents you need to do, like with the city, like, and the foreign office, like city registration, residence permits. Those things coming on block accounts costs. So I paid those costs by myself, and PTDF does not cover those costs. But coming into Germany as a PTDF DAD scholar, once they see your award letter as being a DAD scholar, even right from the embassy fees, like visa application fees. If you are going through block accounts, you pay your visa application fee yourself. But if you are going through the PTDF DAD, those visa fee application fees, city registration, and all others will be waived for you naturally as a DAD scholar, because they treat you as their German government brought scholar. Then another opportunity of coming through the PTDF DAD is in case of health insurance. So naturally, if you come on block accounts, you have to subscribe to your own private health insurance, which you have to be paying from your stipends every month. But if you're a DAD scholar, DAD has a special health insurance package, which I've used severally and is very effective, where you don't have to pay a dime for it, and you're being given health insurance. Else, like if you're on natural block account, you'll be paying some amount depending as high as up to like 120 something euros, 200 euros of your stipend, which is a whole lot. You understand? So, but the PTDF DAD provides you access to free medical health insurance. Then another thing is you have access to family reunion. Naturally, PTDF don't sponsor families, you understand? But the DAD, under the PTDF DAD, you have the opportunity to bring your families to Germany. So they will provide you a financial document which you use as a supporting document for the application at the embassy, where you would they will tell you that they will take responsibility um for bringing your family, and they'll be paying your family, like your if you have a child, if you have a wife, they'll be paying them some part of your stipends, and even they are responsible, and your health insurance will also cover your family. And also your family is entitled to benefits such as language learning, which is up to like funds up to like 2,000 euros plus, which is a whole lot of money in like in terms of learning the language. So they could learn the language up to A1, B1 level, A to B1 level of German. So while you are going to school, you have opportunity for you to bring in your dependents or your family, and they are being paid stipends, and they are also being paid to learn the language, which on the normal PTDF you won't have access to those opportunities. So that is just a pre information about pre-departure logistics, which I said it is better to um, go through the PTDF DAD regardless of um, what's whether you have a first class or you're doing a PhD or something. Now, in terms of academic preparedness, one thing I would say naturally is from what we know Germans are known for excellence, and I would say um, the academic environment in Germany is really tough, and I would, to some extent, I would say it's tougher than in the US and in the UK. But so like the only difference is that compared to like US and I think UK, Germany prioritize work-life balance. You understand? So, but they have a more rigorous academic both grading system, both the way you're being taught, even many at times like from the prior knowledge I had, like coming to doing masters in Germany, I was thinking that okay, I have a bachelor's in civil engineering, me coming to study digital engineering, that at least I'll have some knowledge due to like my background from civil engineering, that okay, when taking a topic or when taking a course, that okay, it will be entirely like it won't be entirely new, that they are going to build on like existing knowledge. Being honest, when I got here, I discovered that I had to learn new things. Like a lot of things that were not taught during my undergraduates. I had to learn it. So many at times it was new. Even Germans themselves, they would tell you that they are finding it difficult, like with the academic system in Germany, with how rigorous it is, and especially the grading. Even I was open to new, in terms of exam, I was open to new way. Normally, exams we write in Nigeria would write exam for 3 hours, 2.5 hours, like that. But here in Germany, we the same amount of like the same volume of like exams we write it in. You cannot write your exams more than 1.5 hour, no matter how whatever course it is. So you have to squeeze in that time constraint. So I would say Germans, it is really, really difficult if you and you have to be prepared to the system. And another thing I would like to say is when I was coming, I was having in mind that, oh, I'm going to get distinction, I'm going to make distinction. I'm being honest, like from my personal experience, I was not able to get distinction, though I was like I'm kind of close, but it's not difficult, is like it's not easy, and it's I would say is difficult to some extent, but it's not like it's not achievable. You have to be resilient about it, and you have to put in, know that you're coming into a rigorous system where you would learn and where you would have impact, like you have impactful knowledge, and you'll be confident that wherever you are or wherever field you find yourself after your master's program, you would be an authority there. So you just have to come in prepared and know that the academic system is really, really rigorous. Now in terms of the cultural adjustment, I would say one of the major thing or cultural shock I experienced upon arriving in Germany is that me as an English speaker, I'm an illiterate. So like you have to learn the language, being honest with you, especially if you want to stay in Germany, you have to learn the language. The language is very, very important. And one funny thing is you would when you arrive Germany, you would meet people who can speak English, but when you ask them, can you speak English? They would deny they don't know how to speak English because they want you to learn their language. So you have to learn the language to be able to survive. Else, it's not like you can't survive without the language, but you would look like a an illiterate or like a second class citizen or like a second class resident or just sideline. Even you can't get opportunities to jobs. You can't get like it's not like it's not possible, but it's like 1% in 100% chance. So it is really, really difficult. And another cultural shock is Germans are very, very quiet people. Unlike we from Africa, where we tend to be loud and this and that. Like for example, having a colleague, like having a German colleague in your class from Nigeria, oh, if I have a coursemate or something and we see each other like outside class, I will like waving and saying hello, hi, and this thing. But I got the cultural shock that even at in class and even when because I had some research assistant job, like seeing your colleagues outside of work environments, you guys don't have any relationship. You can't say hi. If you say hi, they just look at you like a total stranger. And it was so, so shocking to me. Like me wanting to greet my colleague and hi and this thing, and they just behave like they don't know you at all. Is really, really weird. So it's something that you should get used to. And I would say another cultural adjustment, which I learned, which is very, very important in Germany, is that our culture in Africa is different from German culture. I'll just give you like a few examples. For example, the way we are brought up in Africa, if you see like an elderly person or you see like a senior or like your professor or something, and you want to greet, you can't look to his face directly. You would have to bend your heads and even use one of your hands to support the other hand, like just to give like that reverence that okay, this is an elderly person and stuffs like that. But here in Germany, they find it as a disrespect. If you want to show respect to your elders here, you have to shake him directly and look directly into his eyes. So he sees it as a disrespect, as a respect. You looking at him directly and shaking him directly with confidence. Like, and here in Africa, we see that as a disrespect. You understand? So it's a kind of cultural shock. Even there are a lot of examples that you would surprise things we see as respect, they see it as disrespect, like, or maybe this person is dishonest or not being confident at himself. So you should be ready and prepared for that kind of cultural shock. And as we've heard also, just to talk about the racism part, being honest with you, I haven't experienced like real racism, though in my city I stayed in the eastern part of Germany. Some people talk about racism, but I would say me personally, I haven't really experienced, but some people like count some of my experiences as racism, which I didn't really feel it is racism. But one thing you cannot really ignore is that there's this racism amongst not even just blacks, like Germans are being racist to like other European countries like Turkey and this thing, and even other Arab Asian countries, and also blacks. So they have this feeling like, oh, you're coming into their country to come and steal their resources and this and that. And so there's a whole lot of things. And I would say my own personal experience, like which some people term as racism, which though I didn't term as racism, was when I first arrived, I tried to go to a bank to open um, um, a bank account, like a normal German bank account. And when I got there, first of all, they told me I hadn't gotten my residence permit, so I need to wait till I get my residence permit, and they would open a bank account for me at like Commerce Bank here in Germany. So when I got my residence permit, I went back and I met another person there, a woman. And for no reason, nothing, the woman said she is not opening a bank account for me. And I was like, why? She said she has no reason, she has no explanation or nothing, that she is not opening a bank account for me. I said, what is the reason? And she said she cannot disclose any reason to me, and she's not opening a bank account. I thought it was a joke. I had to go and look for a Nigerian, which I met in my city, who even speaks the language, because we're confusing ourselves. I was speaking English and she was speaking German. And definitely, I knew she understands English, but she refused to even speak the English. Uh, so we're like confusing ourselves. So I called a Nigerian who was using the bank and came to speak with her. And she insisted that she is not opening a bank account for me for no reason, for nothing. I don't know why. Till today, I don't know why. I was surprised. I even had to call another fellow German to come and help me talk to her. Like, why are you not opening? Because I heard that bank is one of the best banks in Germany. Why are you not opening an account for me? She also told the German that no reason, nothing, but she is not opening a bank account for me. It was even so funny because I had to like complain to I had to send a mail online and complain to like the bank and say I went to Susu branch, I tried to open an account, and they refused to open an account for me for no reason. And I was replied and sent a mail to my mailbox physically and say they reserve no rights to give me an explanation, but they have chosen not to open a bank account for me, and they are not opening a bank account for me. I was like, wow, that was the like cultural adjustment. Which some people like said that is like some form of racism, but though I didn't really count it as racism, I just went to another bank and opened a bank account, and they opened it for me. And then you might also meet some kind of activities where some people call you like names and address you as being foreigner, why you been in their city, like a whole lot of things. Even I experienced an elderly woman, like two elderly women walking on the road, and I was trying to walk by um the roadside, like the pedestrian walk on the roadside, which could accommodate like the three of us and all, and but they decided or intentionally blocked me from walking on the road. And uh, on the passenger side of the road, on the walkway, I had to like enter into the road to be able to pass. So that was like some form of I would say it's some form of cultural
Mm.
adjustment. That's
Adjustment,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, so you just have to be open and like embrace community to be able to survive easily, because without the community, one thing also in Germany, like in terms of cultural adjustment, is Germany is a lonely country, is a very, very lonely country. So you feel very, very lonely. and even a lot. Like you have to always be in touch with communities, like link around with probably African people or Nigerian community near you, and always communicate. For example, I lost a friend who was a PTDF DAD scholar in my university, and we were studying the same course. And even just imagine how lonely it is. We're supposed to go for a DAD conference together. We're even together like some weeks back, but some days to when he died, we're together and all. But to our surprise, he died like on a Tuesday, and we're discovering that he died on a Friday. And without, like, we're discovering like 3 days after he had died, and his body was like getting rot in the room and stuff, and nobody knew because we knew because the family were trying to reach him, they could not reach him, and that and that. So Germany is a very, very lonely community, and you must prioritize joining groups, joining Nigerian community, African community, because it's really, really difficult, yeah, so that you can check each other and it affects mental health. Definitely. I would like to the loneliness there affects mental health. Even as couples, do you know, I was so surprised because as couples, you even feel like if you're there with your family, you feel lonely because you're always with your partner. You don't literally, you have like literally no friends. So even couples, we invite other people, come, let's hang around, because of how lonely it is there in Germany. So in terms of like funding and financial management, I would just say my advice generally is when you're choosing a city or a university you're going to, um, being honest with you, choose a city that is cheap. Many people want to rush for big cities like Munich, Berlin, and all. But to be honest, like in terms of the cost of living in those cities, they are very high. And one thing you know is DAD would not, or PTDF would not provide additional support. So many people spend their whole stipends on paying rents. Though DAD has the way now that they subsidize rents for like their scholars, you understand. But if it's just PTDF, to be honest, I know some people who even spend more than their stipends to pay for rents, which is to me like it's not making sense. You understand? Spending the whole of your stipends, and they had to lose concentration from school and start working and getting some other works, and like even it affects their program that they can't finish as at stipulated time. So I would say choose cities that are cheap, where your rents, for example, you are being paid 929 euros per month, where you don't pay more than 200, 300 for your rent, and you are able to use the rest to manage your finances. Because I would say one of the things that consumes finances here in Germany is your rent. You
Oh,
understand?
sorry,
So I
Bumi.
would, yeah,
Yeah, you have a lot to say actually,
yeah,
but because of time, let's try to maybe during the question and answer session, then we'll try to bring you on again. Eh? That's
yeah.
that's that's a lot. That's a lot. Thank you so much. And I think
Okay,
much of the things you have said, I can actually relate with it here also. And if there's something that actually what changed my own perspective also was the issue of you having a colleague in your class, and outside of the academic environment you are just like nothing. So I think it's something
yeah.
that I can relate with also. Okay, thank you, Bumi. We'll come back to you. Dr. Siri, are you there?
Hi.
Yeah. Sorry, it took a very long one. Bumi wanted to pour
But it
his
was
heart.
such an engaging one.
Yeah. It is
Like
actually.
I have so many questions.
Let's hear your own perspective before the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Siri, and I am a PTDF scholar at University of Manchester, UK.
Mm,
So I'm actually a PhD scholar. So I started my PhD studies last year, September, although I was awarded the scholarship in 2023. So I can see that someone has already actually asked a
the question.
related question
Yeah.
whereby if you receive the scholarship and you cannot resume immediately, if you have to defer for up to a year or something. But just know that once you are awarded the scholarship, you have been awarded the scholarship, you can go ahead and try to get admission. Once you get admission, you can then proceed to the next steps of travel and all that. So bringing us to pre-departure logistics. As I said, all you need to do is, after being awarded the scholarship, to get admission. For MSc scholars, I've heard that particularly for UK, it's actually not, it's not difficult. It's quite easy to get your admission. So you could begin applying before getting the admission, before getting the award, so that once you receive it, you can travel immediately. But you could also decide to receive the award and then start processing or working towards getting the admission. Then for PhD scholars or potential PhD scholars, what you really have to do, because it's not like the usual route of applying on the school portal for admissions. So you have to directly reach out to a supervisor, a potential supervisor who is interested in your research or who you are interested in their research. So you just send cold mails, and whichever one clicks in the school of your choice, then you can go from there. Because once a supervisor has already endorsed you as their student, then of course the school would be able to give you admission. And I think for IELTS, in my own case, I didn't need any of that English language proficiency. Okay, or was it WAEC that was probably they were able to use my WAEC results to stand in, because I was really particular about not having to write IELTS or pay for any proof of English because I mean I speak English. I've been speaking
Yes.
English all my life. What do you mean I should write an exam and pay money so you certify me that I'm an English? So it's possible for you to do that. I think your WAEC has to be 10 years or within 10 years for it to be valid to be used. And also in the pre-departure logistics, some of the things, so when you are awarded the scholarship, your portal on the your dashboard on the PTDF portal changes, and it's kind of like it, it's done in such a way that it's intuitive, so you are able to get next step from the next step, so you just follow step by step. And there's also a guide on the portal that will help you, so you really don't need to be confused about anything. So there are two medicals that might be required for what it's one for MSc scholars and two for PhD scholars. For MSc, if you're coming to the UK, you have to, that's the general one, you have to do this TB test. And I think there are not many centers that do that, probably just in Lagos, Abuja. I know there's one in Benin, but you have to do a TB test. And for PhD scholars, you have to do a medical examination for PTDF themselves. So there's a hospital in Abuja, and yes, you have to do it in Abuja. And one, you have to take yourself to Abuja and do it and bring yourself back if you're not based in Abuja. So it's one of the costs. It's something that could cost you potentially. Talking about the academic preparedness. Well, I can say from my own perspective, I would say it is not. Is you always have that initial feeling of not, particularly for someone who is going to do a PhD, it's kind of a rite of passage where you're feeling confused, you feel like you don't know what to do, you feel like you don't know anything. So but eventually you continue to learn, you become more confident in yourself, you become more confident in what you know, and we just hope that it happens fast. Okay, to the cultural shock, I think one of the cultural shocks for me was first name basis. Although to an extent I was also exposed to, because I used to work in a bank before traveling, and they try to have this first name basis where you can call your boss by their first name. You don't have to be doing sa sa sa. But here it's like an insult. What do you mean, sir? So that first name basis, it was one of the cultural shock. And Bumi mentioned something about opening a bank account. It was very different for me. As a matter of fact, I didn't have to go to a physical bank to open my bank account. I was able to open the account from the comfort of my home with my phone. I did everything and the account was opened. It's just that there was a time they sent me a text message that the account was inactive or something. I was wondering. I had to go to the bank to ask. And then only for me to go to the bank and they said it was an error, that my account is fine. So I really didn't have any need going to the bank. And also the cashless policy, like you can go your whole life here without having to have any cash wherever you go. Like even the littlest shop, the littlest kiosk that you find, you can pay with your card. You don't need to have, I can't remember the last time I saw physical cash in my hand. And when you go grocery shopping, there's usually always a self-service. You just check yourself out. You just scan your materials and pack your bags by yourself and check yourself. Nobody needs to attend to you. And also, you have to come with your bags, your plastic bag to carry your groceries. Usually in Nigeria, if I am shopping, and I mean, I buy a lot of things, and you are telling me, what do you mean you cannot package my stuff for me? I just bought this thing for you. You're supposed to have a bag for me, right? So, but this is a measure to actually protect the environment, reduce plastic waste. So, yes, it's something that is actually environmentally responsible, an environmentally responsible thing to do. So that's it about the culture shock. And finally, um, on PTDF funding, it's, I would say, if you're coming to the UK to there are always two sides to it. You would want to consider, the city, that it is not a very expensive city to live in, but at the same time I would encourage you to choose the top schools, to choose the best schools, the best places that expect, or the best places that are good for your field, the top schools. Because with PTDF arrangements, you don't need to bother about how expensive the tuition fee is. If you are able to get the admission, PTDF will pay. So if you can get into an Imperial College, if you can get into a UCL, if you can get into a University of Manchester, go for it. But also you'd have to be conscious of managing your money wherever you find yourself, to make sure that you're living within your means, you don't get stranded if there is any delay in your payment. As a matter of fact, me, I haven't experienced any delay for PTDF so far. It's been really, I mean, I was surprised after the first payment, and within the next few months they had already, I was not expecting it. They had already made the next payment. Like, that's very nice. So that's it from me. That's it from me. And I'm really hoping that you, or at least a lot of us represented here are able to get the scholarship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Siri. And that's quite interesting to know. And talking about delay in payments, it can be very, very it can be very, very challenging at times. I've had some colleagues here whose payment were delayed for, I think, close to 7 months. So you getting yours on time, it's quite interesting to know. So I think the next person on our list will be Eve. He's in France. If you are still with us, Eve, what's your own experience like?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's quite interesting listening to everybody speak. So, from my own perspective, coming to before I start telling you what to expect from France, I will highlight France.
Sorry, there's someone.
Somebody's talking.
Someone's mic is on. You may want to switch off your mic, please. Sorry.
All right, I'll continue. So, I've had a little experience. I know one thing about when scholars talk about which country to pick and which not to go to, they are looking for where they will make money, and they forget the in which is the academic demand. I'll start from getting in first. Getting in first, in terms of getting admission in France or making your way to France is quite streamlined and very easy. The first call of action is being registered with Campus France. Once you're with Campus France, every single action and step on the way, you will be guided fully. If you miss out, so they actually have a timeline where they help you sort out for admission. I think it's elapsed between January to February. At that point, you're on your own, but you can still reach out to schools via mail. Funny thing, I got my admission after the close of portal, and I was advised to just send an email to whatever school that I want and put a caption that I'm a PTDF scholar. And Zoom, if they have a slot, they will take you. So for my own case, they skipped even the interview process and they gave me my admission without the interview. Now, after getting your admission, the visa process and the rest are also guided by Campus France, the documentation process. From the instance of you following them, they even add you to a WhatsApp group that they will guide you step by step of every instruction you need to take to get to France, and it's quite easy. It's so easy that they even pick you up from the airport when you arrive at the airport. It's not the school, it's Campus France. For the first time, man, I don't have a Benz, but I rode in a very expensive Benz when I got to France. So you should expect VIP treatment, and same as some other persons. Then that is pre-arrival. The post-arrival, like every other person I've said, one thing first, na money for my hand, kaya for ground. So as a student, our advice when you come in, you should have a minimum 1,000 euro as a support, 1,000 to 2,000 you should have, because of like we all know the delay, and we know this delay is not because PTDF don't want to send your money, they just want you to have an account of your own. So you need that. So how it works here is like the UK scholar said, account opening process is one of the cultural shock you will meet. You don't just walk into a bank and you can go to a bank and book appointment, but you can't just walk into a bank and start opening an account. You have to book an appointment with them prior to that. For me, so one thing all the school do, so if you're coming to France, make sure you don't miss your induction. That's one advice I will give you, because during your induction, the school makes things easier. They have affiliate banks and that they call to school during induction, and you don't need to book appointment at that point. They will just open your account for you instantly. For me, I had issue with the person that took my detail, and the person ended up not opening my details. So I had to go to the traditional process of going to the bank, booking an appointment, and it takes some verification to open the account. They don't just open account. It takes a week or two max. It doesn't take too long to open your account. For me, when I did it, I had to sit down with the account officer to open every bit of it. So normally, if you want to answer most of those things from the comfort of your home, that's when it takes longer time, because they'll keep sending you email for you to sign and forward back the documents and the rest. So that's one side. Then on the academic side of things, which is the priority of why man and Ovex, I may sound too uptight, but I'm not. I don't have the best result, but it's needed to know that the priority of we traveling first is academic work. After the academic work, every other thing that comes a bonus to the struggle. So for the academic work, for me, I will advise anybody picking France to pick a ground school like the UK scholar said. PTDF will pay. I'm attending one of the most expensive schools, a private school in Paris here. They are paying for my school fees. And attending this private school, it's actually an added advantage for those that are into engineering. Engineering schools are highly rated in Paris, and in France rather. In terms of admission, the grade rating of your school gives you upper chance of getting a job. I say admission, getting a job. So if you go to a cheap school, a low-rated school, and over somebody that goes to, though the price of school does not pick the quality of school, but the rating of the school helps you in terms of job search and getting a job here back in France. So that's that on that. What else could I put there? All right. So another thing for me being, I'm in tech. I'm coming to study on tech knowledge, and for me, I found the French system very appealing because it is actually practical, fully practical. In a semester, I was taught, if you're anybody who's familiar with AI, I was taught AI, because AI is very broad. I taught machine learning, which is a sub-branch of AI, and deep learning, which is a further sub-branch of machine learning. I was taught these three topics and subjects the same semester. Same time, I'm doing practicals for these three. Like, you have to get the hands-on with the process. Practical is very key. And their grading system, is quite interesting. You work for your grade, and which in all totality of everything, it's worth it. I will tell you, it's really, really worth it in terms of the academic work. Then added benefits you get for being for coming to study post-study graduate in France. Normally, for you to have an EU permit or papers, you need 5 years to reside in Europe. But studying masters, it gives you added advantage of within 2 to 3 years, which includes your study year. Gives you an opportunity to get those papers. If you cannot get it within those 2 to 3 years, then you have to also for the 5 years. Though there are some other clauses that you could get, just like UK, France also have work study. You can study work for 20 hours per week if you know you can match it up with your academic work. Then in terms of financial benefits, I would say Malaysia is the best place to save money from because of low cost of living. The next place I will rate will be France. I will say France because I know in UK there are opportunities for you to work multiple jobs. In a position where you don't have the opportunity to work, then or you think you cannot merge both, then France is the best bet for you, because as a student, you are advised to stay in campus student apartment, which is called cruise, which is quite affordable. I know the houses outside this thing is a cubicle. They are quite small, but the price you get it fair. For me, my rent is around 500, and so let me tell you, frankly, government is taking, apart from 500 euro, government is taking 75% of my rent. They are paying it in the name of CAF. So with CAF, government subsidize your rent as a student. It's a student benefit. Everybody's entitled to it. Everybody. So depending, the amount is not fixed. Then if you come in as somebody schooling below 25 years, you get more student benefit. If you're coming in older, like myself, then you have to pay most of your bills. But coming in below 25 years, your transport card is, you can apply for student transport card, and it comes in cheaper, 22 euro. No, 30 something euro per month. You can do, okay, for a year, it's at 300 for a year, because the transport card monthly is around 80 something euro. So below 25, but even being above 26, rather, I say 25, 26, you can still apply for I've forgotten the name, but it's, if I get the name, I'll add it up. You can apply for that, and it'll subsidize you. For me, instead of the 88, now I'm paying 22. So that's what you could get that low for you. Then as a student, no worry with the hustle in Nigeria. There are NGOs that support students with food. Some NGOs collect food that are like 3-4 days to when it will expire from major malls and distribute it to students. You have to know that whatever you're collecting, you consume as soon as possible. Like if you're a Christian, you understand when manna was dropping, you are allowed to collect and eat, not to go and store. So you just take your manna and go. And there are several other NGOs. There's an NGO that I'm registered with. They give weekly food stuff. There are several one of them. I'm just registered to this one. So you can still get subsidy on your cost of living through these means. So it's a whole lot of benefit you get as a student. Now, being a student also, France is a major, so being in Europe, you know, Schengen visa, you're always tempted to travel around. So I've traveled to some countries, some close countries and around, and I found out that they always talk about tourism, but Paris is the home of tourism. I will tell you, the places you go to for like Belgium, I went to, the area for tourism is quite smaller than what you could get out of Paris. So the tourist points are minimal. They are not much, though it's a very beautiful city. Similar to Netherlands, yes, the Netherlands, the place they point to you as a tourist point is within a small space. So, but Paris, you get a whole lot, depending on your lifestyle. If you love arts, you see there are a lot of museums. If you love parks, there are a lot of parks. If you just Paris is actually, it's a cool place. You can be too bored. Then in terms of the community, yeah, once you're in Paris, you feel like you're home. I'm not saying because I have family here, but I'm saying because the color, skin color, you don't feel the difference. You see a lot of blacks around, Senegalese, Congo, and the rest. They're all around. You walk around and you see black, so you don't feel that color difference. The only thing I noticed within Paris, not France, Paris per se, is those of us in Paris, the community is not too strong. There are good communities where people gather, meet, but the bond is not as I experienced while I was in Malaysia. There's a strong bond in Malaysia, and that same bond, I noticed it within schools around Nantes, part of France, outskirts of in other cities in France. There's a strong bond within the student community. You can mingle with Nigerians, they hang out, hang out in this time. For me, my lodge, we are about 12 Nigerians, but it's hard to say, oh, let's hang out. You see only one or two coming out. So I think it's a behavioral shift, which I can't tell why it's like that. Everybody's tied to themselves, and so one thing I should also put there, when we travel, we know we're leaving our house, we're leaving our family. Nigerians are family oriented, and we always want to look for somebody to actually bond with. If you can't get a big community to work with, it's always advisable you start up with own personal community. So before I push further on this, I want to make sure I touch on certain things before I use extra time to say any other added details, because there's a lot to share about being in France. France is actually a lovely place to be. Last is personal development and well-being. So being in France, we don't have the opportunity, like the German person said, that you have a period to learn the language first. You go straight into your classes while you're learning the language. For me, I would say I'm one of the slow learners. I find it very difficult, but I'm trying to peak, I'm trying to get it. But the truth is, you need to know that you need to learn the language. It's very key. It helps you. It's not like being racism per se. You can't be in the workplace. Like I went for a job fair and I met some. I submitted a paper for an English job, and they were like, "Yeah, it's cool. Your paper it's right, but it won't be nice that people in the office speak French with themselves. They don't want you to feel like you're being gossiped at. So you need to know the language to some certain extent to communicate. So the language is quite a very strong key to get internship, because MSc here, most MSc ends up with internship. So after your study period, you have 6 months to do an internship. So if you don't have a French language, that's where you find it difficult. Per se. So part of your personal development, I will advise you put effort for the French language. It will actually help you. It's like everywhere, even in Nigeria. If you go to the north, anybody that's been to the north, if you speak small Hausa for the northerner, is very accepting. Like he would want to give you his entire. I won't go buy suya from Malami. The one way he go give you pass, the one way he go give us say they speak English with them. So it happens to everybody. It's not like, I know there's racism everywhere, but I don't see France to be a place, Paris to be a place where they express that racism. I've not seen any racist action. I've actually heard people say they perceive one or two persons to be racist, but I've not gotten any racism experience. I know I did get, so okay, that's not racism. That's people being security conscious. In Malaysia, where they wouldn't open an account because we're Nigerians. It's not because of we're blacks, because we're Nigerians. A Congo person got our account the same way other people get their account. But being a Nigerian comes with two things. It comes with extreme good and extreme bad energy that people perceive on you. So if they fear you, they think you're extremely bad. If they like you, they'll see you to be extremely good. So you should also have that in mind. The talk of racism, sometimes we create environment that don't exist. If you move with positive energy, you'll barely see those things that people think they are doing too spicy. So I've been a traveler in Nigeria, so coming out now, I hardly want to perceive racist action. I don't want to see it. If I see it, I walk away. But I've not experienced any, so I won't say Paris is a place for racism. There's it's a lot of fun, but I'm the party type, so I don't get the party the way I used to enjoy it in Nigeria. So if you know you're the party type, sorry. Then one thing when they tell people, if you're a married man, okay, I don't know about, okay, the visa. I don't think the visa permits you to come with your wife. For the non-married folks that always want to play around, it's not that easy when you travel abroad. Like in UK also, your Nigerian girls, they find white man, and so you too, you go find your own square root. So you sort yourself out when it comes to that. I have to be a bit social. That's me. Hard work and no play make Jack a dull boy. But in terms of everything, Paris, like this summer period is quite a lot. The actions are much. Paris is more colder than many cities, so expect the cold. Come with your jackets, so you don't get frozen. Uh, Currently, I'm in Spain, and the heat here is so much, and called my folks back there, back in Paris, and were like, the breeze, I don't understand the breeze. There is sun, but the breeze is very cold. So those kind of a thing. You expect the cold, but well, Paris is fun. And France is a good place to be. There's a strong academic support for you, even in terms of learning the language. That I think I've touched most things. Please, host, you can
Yeah,
hint me
okay.
when I'm.
No, it's
When I,
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
all right.
At
Thank
least
you.
we know that being in France, you have the opportunity to explore so much, and I don't think we really have that in Malaysia. Malaysian scholars are
Yeah.
bookworm. All right. I'm being considerate with the time now, and I would just like us to move to questions and answer, at least to give those who are attending the opportunity to also ask questions. So if you have questions, please, you could just open your mic and make your question known. We'll do that for 10 minutes. Yeah. Anybody with questions, something you want us to maybe deliberate about, discuss, or maybe something that you want to, maybe a clarification. Okay, thank you, Joseph
Yeah.
Dada.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for this wonderful webinar or kind of like presentation for PTDF scholars to share their experience. My major question goes to a Siri because I applied for the scholarship to University of Manchester in UK. I would like to ask how's like the accommodation setting like in Manchester and cost of living also.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Siri, that's for you.
Okay. So for accommodation, I was actually able to sort out accommodation even before I traveled. So I simply signed up to stay in the University of Manchester student accommodation. At that point, I was just looking for the cheapest one. There was one that was very cheap where I'm currently staying. It was £118 per week, which in total to be around £6,000 for the entire year. So, and with that, I didn't need to actually pay anything at the time. So I just sent them my funding letter from PTDF, which they accepted. So I was able to stay in the accommodation until PTDF paid me, and then I started paying the rent. So you could explore that for accommodation, because I think it really helps to reduce the stress of trying to find accommodation when you move. So you just come here, and it's very, very close to the university, or at least if you get one in Whitworth Park, it's just like 5 minutes walk to the university, 5 minutes walk to the library. It's really close to most places. And there was a second part to the question. What was it again?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
the
cost
cost
of
of
living.
living. Yeah, the cost of living is really fair actually. Manchester is a reasonably cheap city to live in, at least in terms of rent, in terms of buying groceries, stuff for feeding. I think it's pretty decent to live in. So you just
All right.
need
Thank you.
to manage.
Okay, I think
Yeah. Sorry, just a quick follow-up question. This is as regards visa application. We know that most times you want to apply for UK visa, you have to tender proof of funds. Is the offer letter enough to tender as your proof of funds?
Okay, so for visa, you really don't need to bother yourself with anything. After getting the scholarship, once you start the process on the portal, because there's a point where you have to upload your admission letter, you do your medicals and all that. When you're done up to the final part, you just wait. an agent of PTDF will actually reach out to you. So there's a form you would fill. It's a Microsoft form. You put in your details, and then the agent will reach out to you, and they use all those details to process the next thing. They're asking you they're giving you the dates for your visa appointment, and you just go there. I don't think they even looked at my documents. They just asked me to print, and that was all. So you don't need to bother about proof of funds or anything.
Okay, all right. I wouldn't know if there are other questions. Any other person who has a question? Okay, Mr. Lawrence, yeah, just your question. We have just about 3 more minutes. Mr. Lawrence, your question. You are muted. Maybe you might want to switch on the mic. Hello, Mr. Lawrence, your hand is up. Off. Okay. Do we have any other person who has a question?
Okay. Sorry, I had a problem with my device.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Thanks a lot for all the contributions and the enlightenment so far. I just wanted to ask, there was this issue of sometimes the stipends coming late from PTDF. But now that we have these Naira cards that you can make payment abroad with your normal Naira card, could we still have that kind of situation? Maybe I think your local account in Nigeria now, I think you can make use of it abroad through the Naira card facility. Then secondly, after securing the scholarship, irrespective of where you actually applied for admission, either Malaysia, UK, Germany, France, do you have the liberty to not just decide, okay, I'm no longer choosing here, I'm going for another, country entirely? Do you have that flexibility?
Okay, let me start with the second one. If you chose UK from the onset, you cannot change to any other country apart from UK. And also, the only time you seem to have flexibility is when you choose between either Germany, France, or Malaysia. So just like I think Abe was in Malaysia at some point, but he had to move to France. So if you are within the GCFM option, you can actually switch from any of those country. So you could, if you picked Germany maybe at the onset during your application, and it turns out that you don't have maybe a suitable course in Germany and you want to come to Malaysia, you can do that. Now, the issue of the Naira card, I'm not so sure about that, but in my own case, what I did then was to get a dollar card from my company, from my bank in Nigeria, GT Bank to be specific. And when I go to Malaysia here, I actually used that dollar card, and it was easy for me. I know of some people, they told me that at the point when the Naira card was working, they actually used it in Malaysia here. But as a person, I haven't used it, so I can't say much about it. So I think that answers your question, Mr. Lawrence.
If I can add
very well.
Okay, yeah. Please do.
So the Naira card, actually I used one. I used it. It was Providus Bank Naira card. So the MasterCard, you can use it to make payments in any currency, and it's more like a short-term fix.
Approach,
so it's not as though your PTDF is going to have anything to do with your Naira. So in case you do not want to convert your money, you just want to spend the money from Naira and spend it directly, it's possible. And in fact, then because I used the Providus Bank MasterCard, so it had kind of a lifestyle package attached to it, and I was able to get access to a lounge and while we're waiting at the airport. instead of just waiting where normal people were waiting. I was waiting in a special lounge and all that. So, but it's a temporary stuff. So once you open an account and PTDF pays you, obviously you start using the card in your currency.
Okay, thank you, Siri. I want to appeal that we make that the last question because we have really short out of our time. And this conversation will continue on our platforms, maybe on the LinkedIn, and maybe in the subsequent events, we might even look at the possibility of maybe opening a WhatsApp group or something, or maybe co-opting the new scholars into the existing WhatsApp groups. Let me just share this. You know, it's always good for you to have different options. And apart from PTDF, there are other scholarship opportunities that many of us can benefit from. And particularly for those who might not be selected. So you can also take note of these ones. I think Bumi touched so much on that. It's actually a very good platform for you to gain access into Germany. And there's also CAD. I got to know that recently. And CAD, basically, what CAD does is they try to focus on developing countries, and of which Nigeria happens to be one of them. So you can also look at that. Then for UK, you have the Chevening Scholarship, the Commonwealth Scholarship also, and maybe the Great Scholarship. So you can also be on the lookout for this. And France also, Ebe talks so much about Campus France. You can also reach out to them for maybe scholarship opportunities. And one thing again, I also observed while I was trying to gather this is that there are so many universities in France that actually want give scholarships to African students. Then in Malaysia also, much of the schools in Malaysia, they have what we call the GRA. The GRA is a kind of a graduate research assistant scheme that helps students from country like us to gain access into research and get to do your research. Then also, I think recently there is the Malaysian International Scholarship, and we have a lot of Nigerian students here who have benefited from this. So you can also be on the lookout for this. So having said that, I would just like to thank everyone that took time out of their busy schedule to attend this webinar. And just like my colleague said, it is our prayer and our hope that everyone who has attended gets it. And it's always a thing of joy when you get a scholarship like that of a PTDF. So having said this, I would like to say thank you once again for joining. And we'll still continue to communicate on the platforms. And peradventure, if there are information that I could actually post on my platform to be of help to many of you guys, I would always do that. Thank you so much for joining. And also, I would like to appreciate the scholars, the likes of Bumi, Siri, and Ebe, for giving out this time out of their busy schedule. I sincerely appreciate it, and I pray that God will make our paths much easier. Have a wonderful night. See you guys sometime soon. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. Thank you.
Thanks.